Welcome back to the Azura Game Club, home of the Bad Girl Coven. I'm your Coven leader, Emily. Today we're talking about The Last of Us Part 2. Now, The Last of Us Part 2 is a very controversial game amongst the gamer crowd, especially when it was released in 2020. We were dealing with a lot of shit back then, and I guess we should start with this. When I played this copy of The Last of Us on PS3 and really enjoyed it and loved it back in the day, it's pretty much as soon as the game came out, they had already announced that there was going to be a sequel, and or that they were gonna they're considering making a Last of Us 2 or something, and me and my friends for years and years talked about how The Last of Us 2 didn't need to exist, and The Last of Us was such a perfect story, and to some extent, I mean, I agree with my past self about all of that, but since this game does exist, I mean, I'm willing to give it the benefit of the doubt, and that they had a good idea to make with the story and whatnot. Um, After all, I mean, there's some unresolved stuff from the first game, such as a lot of what we're dealing with in this game. Spoilers, by the way, for The Last of Us 2. Um, but, so, and The Last of Us, I guess, obviously. At the end of the last game, there was the whole, Joel not telling Ellie the truth thing, which I was confused about initially. I thought really he would have told her the truth, but then obviously later on I learned that this was a whole thing where it was like he didn't tell her the truth, and that was like half the thing. But when you think about it, it really doesn't make a lot of sense that Ellie is like the only immune one. Like, this wouldn't have happened anywhere else in history of all of this. I mean, there has to be someone else who is immune, and depending on what theory you go on about how Ellie is immune, whether you follow like the show or you follow like Matt Pet's theory that it was like a different brand of cordyceps that was in there, and then that's how she's immune or whatever. It's like that never happened to anybody else, or like in the show it's because she was born with like some kind of immunity because like her mom got bit when she was being born for some reason. That's how that all worked. But so that's kind of interesting. So anyway, I mean, there was a whole thing about obviously Joel's choice there at the end of the game, the first game, that is, that was going to be kind of a something of a sticking point in this next game, which the game is kind of all about that. And if you want to believe speculation about a third game, it'll also be sort of more about that again, like the first game kind of was. How she's this like cure for humanity or whatever. But at the same token, we have to remember that it's all theoretical, Okay, now seriously, this is where I'm talking about spoilers for the second game. We find out in the second game, there's this character called Abby. She's the other half of the game that you play as her and stuff, and everyone hates Abby, right? Yeah, that's the whole thing. For stupid reasons, too, by the way. Everyone hates Abby because she's gay. Or not because she's gay, because Ellie's gay. Everyone hates Abby because she killed Joel. Sorry, it's late. I'm trying to fucking do this review so I can just put this game behind me, and just move on to other games, Not because I didn't like it or anything. A little tease for what I thought about it. I mean, I did like it. It's just I've got other stuff I want to play. I've got a mountain of games over there I've got to get to, and I'm really glad I finally did get to this one. But so Abby's dad is the one that Joel killed at the end of the first game when he killed the doctor. Supposedly, Abby's dad was like the only doctor that could make this cure with the cordyceps or whatever, but like if you really pay attention to the details, there's, yeah, like I said, there's that NatPat theory where he like goes into that, where it's like just a different brand of cordyceps or whatever. She's not actually immune, but like she is immune. It's just like in a different way, you know, kind of thing. Um, like that's all very interesting. And when you look at like things about Ellie and you listen to like that recorder from the first one and stuff, it's like she doesn't necessarily have like anything super feasible to like go on in terms of like the doctors don't have, in terms of like how are they gonna make this cure. And then okay, so like let's say they can even make a cure, right? Because like that's a whole controversy in itself. Then it's like how are they gonna distribute this cure around the world? Like most people are not going to take this cure, and as we've seen in this game and in the previous game, most people are bad now, and humanity's just like gone completely off the rails. The whole prison camp at the end of this game, like it's a stark reminder of how things are, and you know everyone's out for like revenge, or they're out for like just survival. You know, it's like if you have a cure, you're only going to start another war, basically, over that cure. Um, I heard a really interesting speculation about how the third game might go, where... Because Ellie's kind of pissed off in this game about not being able to be sacrificed to make this cure, if that was even feasibly doable. I think that's what we're forgetting here, is they say there's a chance that we can make a cure, and even if they could, was Ellie's life really worth that? I mean, to Joel, no way, because she's like, I wanted my life to mean something, right, at the end there, and he's, I can just feel him sitting there like, it absolutely meant something to me and everyone else that you've affected. And I know what Ellie means, is like we all want our lives to like leave some kind of resonance, or have some greater significance, like we left an impact on history or something. But at the end of the day, Ellie still needs to live her life, and she still needs to affect all of these other people. And I don't know, she needs to fight Abby and see that Joel died and stuff. Like that's... all of what happens in this game still needs to happen. Maybe it's not the most happy thing, but these are lessons Ellie needs to learn, you know? And she needs to grow up, you know, at some point. And if we're to be believed by speculation, she needs to learn forgiveness in the third game, and that's what's going to happen. Forgiveness for Joel's death. Maybe she can forgive Abby. Maybe Abby's going to sacrifice herself for her. That's what I heard in a video. I don't know. It's all speculation. There's none of that's actually confirmed. But I think that would be nice. Nice. I'd say it like it's just going to be a happy go-around camper. I gotta say, okay. And I know I'm getting off the rails here, but that final fight with Abby and Ellie, oh my god. Like, even the one where you're Abby and you're, like, going around the theater trying to, like, get Ellie, like, that was difficult and everything, and I really didn't want to hurt Ellie, obviously, but even there, it's like, okay, this is kind of cool from a gameplay perspective, but the final battle where they're just, like, out on in the water, and she, like, just saved her life and everything, and I'm just like, girl, let it go. Just stop. Just leave. You saved her life. It's significant. You put yourself on a good path. Why do you need to continue to fight? Like, oh my god, if you're gonna kill her, just, like, shoot her or something. But, like, you know, it's like the Joker says, like, you know, bullets are too fast. Knives, you get to savor every little, you know, thing or whatever. I think Ellie's definitely taken some of that. She wants to be satisfied by her revenge, but she doesn't get there. And that's why she lets Abby go, you know? Because at the end of the day, killing Abby's not going to be getting revenge for Joel. Because Joel killed Abby's dad. So then Abby killed Joel because Joel was Ellie's father figure. And then Ellie wants to kill Abby because she killed Joel. It's just this endless cycle, you know? And I know everyone's like, oh, the message of the game isn't violence is bad. Well, it's definitely a sub-message of the game is violence is bad. Um, and revenge doesn't work. You know? It's never worked. Is it ever worked once in a piece of fiction? What if they ever just been like, I feel satisfied? Maybe John Wick, right? Like the first John Wick where he gets revenge because of his dog and his fucking, like car and his wife and whatever, but the dog was the last president of the wife. Like, that's justified because it's like, dude, you killed my dog for no fucking reason and stole my car, and this was the last gift my wife ever fucking gave to me, and I was just trying to be a good person, and now I'm going back to mercenary life. That's a whole other topic for my other channel, maybe even at some point. And getting to play as both sides, I feel like was a good thing because it definitely. I don't love Abby or anything, but it definitely made me feel by that final fight like, God damn it, can't we just move on from this? And I think the third game, hopefully, is going to be about them moving on, And I would really like that. And if they could just be on good terms in some regard and just... I know, I mean, it's a lot. They killed each... Like, there's a lot of bad blood there between them, but, like, maybe they can learn to forgive each other. I know people are going to hate that, but... Fuck, I don't know. Alright, so let's get into it then. Here's the thing, right? I can sit here and explain it all day, but here's the thing. Here's what I would change, alright? Here's what I would change about The Last of Us Part 2. This is the one big change I would make. There's 3 days to this story, and there's times before and after that, right? Those 3 days need to take place chronologically. I want to play as Ellie, then play as Abby, then play as Ellie, then play as Abby, and then play as Ellie. Or whatever, in these Seattle bits. Like, those 3 days have to be chronological in my mind. There's no reason to put off playing as Abby, and it would only give you more, reason to understand Abby, and I honestly, and the other thing, I was talking to my friends about this, they need to put that part with Abby and her dad dying before the Joel part. It feels so fucking pointless that Joel needs to die when Joel dies, because you don't understand the context of anything. This random group comes around. He helps Abby through shit. Like, they're all fighting against the Infected together, and then she, like, kidnaps him to fucking kill him, right? So, that's the thing. Like, I feel like it's just this giant, like, everyone's really angry about that, right? The Joel thing. And I think that's intentional, obviously. We want to feel like Ellie being angry about Joel's death because we loved Joel. We loved Joel and Ellie. There are certain fans who cannot get over the fact that A Last of Us 2 is not the story of Joel and Ellie. I used to think that was me. And now I don't think that anymore. I'm a more complete person than I was 10 years ago when I was whining about how The Last of Us 2 didn't need to get made, And I think we gotta just, like, put that behind us now. The game is out. It's been out for 4 years. We've been complaining about it all of this time, and then there's people who have been holding it up. It's so annoying. And I hate the people who are just like, oh, well, Ellie's got a girlfriend now, and that's the reason I hate the game. It's like, dude, she's gay. We knew that as soon as the fucking DLC of the last game. You didn't think they were going to do anything with that? Of course they were going to do something with that. Dina's great. I like her. She's likable, She's a great mom. It kind of killed me when we were back at the farmhouse and she was gone. I knew I saw it coming, but it's just like, God damn it. And when she had to leave, when Ellie had to leave, and she couldn't just let it go. She couldn't just let it go. God damn it, Ellie, just let it go. Abby, spared your life. I mean, I don't know. She's got to show her position of power or something. She has to be the one who saves Abby's life for this to all be okay. I mean, it worked. It fucking worked. She risked a lot to go and, like, be the one to kill Abby herself. Like, she's, like, hanging up there on that pole, and it's just devastating. You're just like, wow, this is really dark. And the whole game is darker than the first one. And you know what? I want to say this. The gameplay is really solid. It's very uneven, though, at sometimes. Like, there was a section of, like, Seattle, like, when you first get there, that's, like, an open section. And they don't have a lot of those in the game. And it's just like, why can't we have more of these? This was great. I had a great time, looking around here. And there's a lot to explore in the game. And I do very much enjoy exploring throughout the game. And yeah, it's nice, and I'm glad that we have the ability to explore. There's a lot to find in the. So anyway, yeah, there's secrets kind of everywhere. There's I don't remember if this was a mechanic in the last game where you can, like, break the glass, like, on windows and stuff, and it'll make a noise. So, like, everybody, if there's the things or, like, like clickers nearby or something, it's gonna alert them to you, like, infected, I guess, or humans. But, at the end of the day, like, it's an interesting mechanic because then you, like, can break a window anywhere, and that could be, like, a secret area, that you go into. And there's, like, collectibles and stuff, too. There's, like, safes in this game. I mean, there was a couple of safes in the last game, but I don't feel like there was half as many safes as there was in this game. It was, like, a whole mechanic. And there's so many workbenches, too, just, like, everywhere. They were a little more scarce in the last game, but I think it was, interesting to have them kind of everywhere here. And the pill system is, like, they have, like, so many branching paths these times, and if you find, like, all the manuals and whatever, it just, like, really expands, like, so many options you have. And I think that all of that, like, especially the pill thing, would have felt like a lot more poignant if you were cutting back and forth, because, like, as soon as I get to the part with Abby in, like, the later half of the game, I'm just like, I have to start over? This sucks, Like, if you just cut between them, you would kind of be like, yes, this is what I have as Abby, this is what I have as Ellie, and it might get a little bit confusing, but I don't think it's gonna get that confusing, And so, I definitely think that would have been the better way to go about doing the game. And I really, that's my biggest complaint with the game, is that we didn't just do that so that the story could be more chronologically enjoyable. It's a lot like Beyond Two Souls, where they fucking wanted to do this shit where they wanted to show the story in their own stupid way. And it was a stupid way to show the story. Just show the story chronologically. And get us invested in both characters, because that's what this story is ultimately about, is both characters, And I'm not saying this is, like, a horrible way to do it, but, like, it's definitely not a great way. Now, when this game comes out on PC, because I've been hearing it's going to come out on PC at some point, I would love to play a version of it where all the mods have to fix is that. And we've got a better game at that point. I'll have a much better time playing the game at that point, and it'll be good stuff. It'll be good, a lot of good stuff going on. No, it really will be. It will be good stuff, and I'll be a lot happier if they make that one simple change. And that's my biggest complaint. Other than that, I think there's a lot of really good moments story-wise. A lot of the Ellie and Joel stuff, of course, is the best stuff, but, like, yeah, so, like, there's just some flashbacks after Joel's death, and that's kind of nice, because then it hits more, that that he's dead, and you're getting to share these memories with him, like the ones at the museum and the ones but they're not always great too. There's like the one at the hotel where Ellie's like kind of getting mad at him for keeping the secret and trying to break through to him, and he's just like still denying it, and then she like goes to the hospital like in a later part in like another flashback, and she's like, what the fuck, like, and kind of tears a rift between them, and it's really sad to watch. And they're they basically, up until like the day right before he dies, like they just mend it before he dies, and like it's really sad, honestly. And I think all of that's really effective. And I can see that's kind of what they wanted to do with Joel's death, is make this emotional kind of thing. And also to make Ellie a more rounded and complete character, I suppose. I don't know if really revenge was the best thing for her, but I think that's also what Ellie learned at the end of the day, is that revenge isn't necessarily the best path to where she needs to be in life, because like it's just, that's not the vibe, revenge. You just don't need to necessarily get revenge for everything. That's an important life lesson, Sometimes you just gotta forgive and move on. And yeah, and it's about grieving the game, of course. And I'm not saying they should like be best buddies or anything, but like, I don't know, like once she kind of figures out like why Abby did it, and like like at some point, can she not just sympathize with the fact that Joel killed Abby's dad, and Abby got her revenge? I don't know, was that satisfying to Abby? I guess. Is that... She does struggle with it, right? They kind of struggle with that a lot. They're like, oh, well, I didn't know it was going to get that dark whenever we went there, but that was the mission, was to kill Joel, right? Because he kind of screwed over humanity, and he killed my dad, basically. I don't know. I mean, how much of that was he killed my dad, and how much of that was he screwed over this cure thing for humanity? Because I still feel like this whole cure for humanity thing is just so overblown, because it's like, is Ellie truly the cure for humanity? I mean, we don't know that. We might never know that, Apparently it's going to play into the third game. That's what I was kind of getting at with all of that, was the speculation is that now that she's lived a complete life, maybe at that point when she's old, she'll willingly give herself up to be researched and potentially get a cure. But society isn't going to go back to the way it was just because the human race gets cured. I mean, there's still going to be the infected everywhere, and the world can't go back at this point, I don't think so. It would be really interesting to see them try to go back, but I mean, I don't know. I just don't know if it's possible at this point, Have they ever done like a zombie apocalypse or any sort of apocalypse movie like this, where it's like, or game or whatever, where they actually freaking get through it and they go back, like, is that ever a thing? Like, what changes? What's different? Like, how do things resolve? At the end of the day, it's just like, that's the question. Like, I want to see that. That would be a really interesting story, right? Like, let's say, how do you move on from these kind of living in a world like this, and even like, I don't know. I mean, like, are the survivors from that, like, from before any of that happening, like, still alive, for one? And then even if they're not, then like, how do the ones who were born into this kind of world, and that's how they grew up and they only knew this kind of world, how do they go about it? And then the ones who have been totally corrupted by everything, how do they go about, like, first of all, taking them down, or, like, imprisoning them, or, like, making peace with them, or whatever the fuck? How does any of that work? That's what I want to see. Can we make a story about that? Like, post-apocalypse? Like, I would love to see that. Like, humanity actually fucking rebuilding, and, you know, maybe some political battles about that kind of stuff. You know, like, Fedra was supposed to be the thing that made this all happen. So, like, that the world would retain some kind of stability, and they failed. And they failed to get a cure going and everything. And, I don't know. Maybe Ellie really is the key to this. Is her prolonging the Earth's, like, downfall for 80 years, and then there's, like, very little people left to even rebuild? Is that even, like, morally correct, you know, like, to do? Obviously not. If she really is the cure, I mean, that's just gonna be even worse on Joel's part, because, like, he didn't give her up earlier, you know? I think Ellie has to make peace with that, though. If she really wants to live, like, a full life and then become the cure later. I mean, does she really want to become the cure now, after all that's happened? I mean, like, she said that before Joel died, but now that Joel's gone, like, does she have, like, anything to be the cure for? I guess Dina and the kid and whatever? Like, I don't know. I want to see how Ellie feels about all that now. I mean, do we get any of that? We must get a little bit of that at some point. That's the thing. It's so hard to keep up with what happened and how people felt in the game, because it just kept friggin', like, there were two distinct things. And I spent so long playing this game. This is a long fucking Last of Us game. The first game is like half the time of this game, I swear. Like, there's so much more to this game. And it feels a little bit bloated sometimes, you know, honestly. I mean, I think it was just a little bit of burnout, but by the time I got to the Abby sections, I'm just like, I really, is this over yet? Like, you know, I was really feeling it at that point, like, the fatigue of playing this game. And not that it was, like, super bad or anything. I mean, those sections were still pretty good. It's just like, I played a lot of similar stuff as Ellie, and I don't know, I feel like the game goes on for a bit too long, is my other point. But and I think that pacing, like I said earlier, would have been a lot better had they cut between the storylines, so I'm not always just playing as Ellie, and then I'm always just playing as Abby, and then at the end I play as Ellie and Abby for a little bit each. Like, go back, you know, it just doesn't. It doesn't work unless you cut between them, you know? I think I'm not saying that fixes all your problems, but for me that fixes a lot of the story problems, you know? I get more invested in Abby, or, like, I don't know, maybe on a repeat playthrough, I already know more about Abby now, and I already know the story. It's just on the first playthrough, it gets really rough when you're just like, who's this character? Why did she kill Joel? Like, I get that the intention is to keep you in the dark so that Ellie can learn these things too, but, like, I don't know. I would rather just know. Why can't I, as the player, know who Abby is, even if Ellie doesn't know, and then Ellie has to learn who Abby is, right? That's kind of nice, and then she has to figure out who Abby is, just like we did, in a sense, even though she doesn't get to see Abby's life. I don't know, it's a thing. This game sure is a thing. You know, like, I don't hate it like everyone else does, because everyone else hates it for such stupid reasons. Even if Joel dies, like, okay, yes, I understand that was really sad, and that maybe that wasn't the way you wanted things to go. Did you really want 3 games of just Ellie and Joel, The Last of Us? Like, what else were they gonna do with that premise? I mean, they did enough, I feel like, yes, because the flashbacks and stuff are great, but we don't need a whole nother game of that. You really wanted more of that same stuff and then just burn out the game, you know, like, I like that they did something interesting. I like that they did something unique, and I think they took a really different direction with it. And I don't think it's as good as the first game. I love the first game. I think the first game was a lot better, but in terms of like story and stuff, and like getting you to like connect with the characters. But even so, still, I feel like the first game, it's dark, but it has its optimistic moments too. Like when you're looking out and you like, oh, giraffes or whatever. Like that's kind of nice. That's a nice moment. There isn't any moments like that in here. There really isn't, other than like the flashbacks. This game is like utterly like just dreary and dark like the whole way. It's all about these like negative feelings and stuff. And I mean, there's a couple of moments like with Dina and stuff, but it's always drenched in like, I gotta go back, gotta go get Abby, or like that kind of thing. I don't know. There's a farmhouse thing, but then again, at the end of that, Tommy comes in. I can't believe you didn't kill Abby. It's like, well, fuck you, Tommy. What the hell? What do you care? I mean, you care because it's Joel, obviously, but fuck you. Like, Ellie's got this nice life. Can you just let her live the nice life? And of course, she was having, panic attacks and flashbacks and stuff too. But I don't know. I just feel like maybe, she didn't need her revenge. She learned that by the end, She even got to save Abby's life. I mean, maybe that'll mean something to her, Obviously not that much, because she wanted to fight her immediately afterwards. Um, but I think she might have learned, like, hey, that's not enough, and that's why she, like, pulled back, and she's like, she didn't kill her, She's like, this doesn't feel as good as I wanted it to. This doesn't feel as satisfying as I wanted it to. It's not going to bring Joel back. I mean, it really won't. I like the line where she's talking about, it's right after the fight, and she's just like, just go. Just take him with you, or whatever. She's talking about Lev, of course, but Ellie, like, in my like interpretation, or like the subtext of that is just like, just take Joel with you because you killed him, basically. That was what I kind of read into it. Like, obviously the main text is like, just go, get out of here. Like, I'm giving you a chance to leave on this boat with Lev. I thought the game was honestly going to make me make a choice. I mean, it's not Life is Strange, but you see the two boats and you're like, oh shit, is this going to be like Life is Strange? I'm going to have to choose to just leave, or just like, like fight Abby or whatever. Or maybe I'd leave with Abby, or I'd leave by myself, kind of thing. Yeah. And I understand. I understand the dynamic because they both suffered, like, Abby lost her dad because of Joel. Ellie lost Joel because of Abby. So it's like, they both have the hatred in their heart. But, they both kind of saved each other in a way. It's very complex stuff. Very complex emotions. And I think that was... Maybe it backfired, obviously, but like that was part of the controversy of the game, and part of like what the game is actually trying to do too. I almost feel like it would have been crazy if this game wasn't controversial in a sense, like it was just controversial for the dumbest reasons, like, why the fuck, like, why does anybody care that Ellie has a girlfriend and they have a baby or whatever and all of that? Like, who gives a shit? The game even says who gives a shit, like, it's actually an important moment because it's like, Ellie, like, doesn't even want to admit it, to Joel, because, like, Joel's kind of old school and whatever, but, like, he's cool with that, he just, loves Ellie. He just wants what's best for Ellie. And Ellie's too proud to admit it, until maybe, I don't know. Does she ever get to admit it to him? Like she kind of says it. She's like she implies it or whatever, but because Joel even straight up asks her, like, "Is Dina your girlfriend?" And it's like, no, it was just this one kiss or whatever. But like, that it evolves into that. It's kind of sad that Joel never gets to see any of that, and they have a nice little conversation there, but like, she's like, I'm gonna, I don't think I can ever forgive you for that, but I want to try. And he's like, I would like that. And then that's kind of the, like, that's the end of their relationship. As far as I'm to understand, that's like right before he dies, like the day before. So I don't think they have that many interactions after that. And it's kind of, um, poignant and sad in its own way, because it's like, it mirrors life, I mean, you don't always get an opportunity to say goodbye to the people that you love, and I think that's kind of what it was in a sense. But I mean, it's also though about all about the revenge, and I get it. I understand why people hate Abby, but just, I don't know. I don't, in a sense. I don't love Abby, but like I don't hate her because like I got to see her side of things. Is it less interesting than Ellie's side of things? Yeah, because we had a whole game to expand and play with Ellie there, and I, I, but I do think that by the end of the game, I definitely got to a point where I'm just like, come on, can we just stop already? Do we have to keep fighting? Like, I cared enough at that point. Surprisingly so. I mean, I guess I didn't feel that connected to Abby, like, when I was playing all that, but by the end there, I'm just like, why do we need to, like, continue this fighting? So, like, if I was really so hating of Abby, like, uh, I would have wanted Ellie to, like, kill Abby or something, right? Like, no. I mean, I wouldn't want that anyway. I don't know. Maybe I want that. The game sure wanted that for seemed like the game wanted, like, that was the point of the game, but, like, it's a more complicated thing. It's like the choice in the first game. It's very, like, it's all wrapped up in a bunch of complex stuff, It's just like, oh, and I saw this interesting thing about how, like, and I noticed these parallels in the game too, because, like, so both of them got their father figures taken away, right? And now they're both kind of parents because, like, Abby has Lev, and then, like, Ellie has the baby, right? Like, I mean, it's not her baby, but, like, she's was taking care of this baby. So it's like, I don't know, the speculation is that, like, maybe Abby will see that and be like, well, I can't kill Ellie because that would take away um a parent figure. They'll like figure out that, like, what happened there was wrong or bad. I mean, I think they know that already, but it's just like, I don't know. If Joel just hadn't killed her dad, like, none of this would have happened, So, like, but he had to. He had to kill that doctor, otherwise Ellie would be dead, and then maybe for nothing, honestly. I mean, even if she was the cure, like, they've got one shot at figuring that out, right? Like, if there is no other immune people that they've ever come across, like, what if they don't figure out what they need from Ellie, and then it's just, that's it? That was the cure. Like, I don't know. And I mean, by the time she's old and ready to turn herself over, like, to my understanding, like, Abby's dad was the last person, maybe, like, one of the last people to be, like, really, truly, like, able to create this cure or whatever. So, like, how are they even going to create a cure, if that even happens? I would. Okay, this is what I want. I mean, I almost think it would be more interesting to see them trying to rebuild society, or have some kind of war over the virus cure. I mean, like, it's not a virus, like over the fungal cure or whatever. I don't know. I really, I mean, they're not gonna make a Last of Us 4, but I would really find it interesting if the third game is whatever it is, and then they make a Last of Us 4 where it's like there is a cure and it's just them trying to like rebuild like society or whatever, and it's like how does that happen? The first of us. That's what they'll call it. It'll be like a new world they're trying to build, and that could be a really interesting like second series to The Last of Us. Is like, we don't have any of the same characters necessarily, but like we're just playing as people trying to rebuild in this world. And it's still conflicting with the old world of the virus and whatnot there. So it's not like they're really gonna get rid of. Like they said, there's like 90% like coverage of these cordyceps. Like, so if 90% of humanity is gone, how is 10% gonna make it back? And a lot of those 10% probably are dead by now. Um, through like, just getting bitten or getting shot or something, or just dying of starvation or any natural cause, or anything, disease, anything could happen. So yeah, I would really like to see them do another kind of series after this, like rebuilding the world or something. Like, wouldn't that be such an interesting thing to see? And they can still tackle a lot of the same concepts and stuff, but in a new way. Because, like, what has done that, What's been like, okay, we figured out how to get past this, and now we're rebuilding society. They, like nothing's ever done that as far as I can, like, think of. Comment below, tell me, like, an interesting thing that's done that, but anyway. The Last of Us 2, the gameplay is really solid. The upgrades are pretty good. Sometimes it drags on a little bit long. The story is solid. I'm gonna say that it's pretty good. It gets a little bit confusing sometimes. When you have the whole picture, I feel like it's kind of worth it. But and I know it's not as good as the original sort of game and story and all of that, but I definitely think that um it's pretty good, and I know it's not perfect, and that's the thing. I mean, at the end of the day, I had a good time with the game, though. It was very complicated. It made me feel a lot of different complicated things, and I don't know. I can see why the game was so controversial, but at the same time, people were aiming that controversy at the stupidest things. And, like, I mean, let's be real. Here's the thing, right? It's not as good as The Last of Us, but I feel like it's a solid follow-up to The Last of Us. It's not the follow-up we probably all wanted, or I didn't want any follow-up, but for what it is, and since it exists, I don't really mind that it was the follow-up to The Last of Us. I think it was pretty good overall, and I could see a strong potential for a third game being much better and much more in line with the original game in some regards, and just being a better overall experience after this game. It could be the Rocky, not Rocky like the movies, like Rocky as in description. It could be a Rocky like middle part to a complete trilogy, kind of like Lord of the Rings. I mean, Two Towers is fine, but the first one and the third one are so much better, you know? And I'm really hoping that's what Last of Us 3 is, so. Yeah. Um, I guess just some miscellaneous stuff. You know, like there's the whole... The music was fine. They did the whole guitar thing. Like, Joel taught Ellie how to play the guitar. There was, like, the one song... I can't remember. Like, the one main song that, like, Joel, like, plays at the beginning of the game that kind of, like, goes through. But there's also, like, a bunch of other songs, like Take On Me and stuff. I like Ellie's version of Take On Me a lot better than the original song. It's very much more somber and, like, reflective than, like, the original song. Like, so, I don't know. I like that. Um, a lot of stuff like that. But, so there's that. Game, the game looked pretty good. I mean, for PS4, it looks good. I'm sure it looks great on the PS5. Just like I'm sure the PS5 one remaster looks good too, or whatever. Um, there's some new enemies and stuff too. I mean, I don't. There might have been. It's been a while since I played the first game, a couple years ago, whenever I reviewed it or whatever. But like, there were like stalkers now. I thought that was like an interesting new enemy. There's a couple of cool things like that. A couple of good additions. Um, I feel like the gameplay was really tight. I already mentioned that. So, overall, it's a pretty good package. And I know the game is controversial and everything, but I didn't mind it. I liked it even, you know, um, 8 out of 10. Last of Us 2. What can I say? It wasn't perfect, but it was pretty good. So, go play The Last of Us 2 before Last of Us 3 comes out. Anyways, this is Emily, your coven leader, saying stick around, subscribe, join the Batgirl Coven. Never forget, magic comes from the heart. I'll see you guys in the next one. Emily out.